Here to tell us now more on Ford and their vehicle sales, I'd like to welcome in Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent, for our developing story today. So we did get some updates as far as vehicle sales go. This follows the EV sales we got earlier this week. Kevin, walk us through what you're seeing here.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of a mixed picture when you're looking at Ford sales. They actually did see an increase on a year-over-year basis, around 7.1%, and that's total ICE vehicles as well as hybrids and EVs. But that was actually a little bit lower than the street's average when you're looking at the overall growth here. Now, I think one of the key areas that we've always been focusing on as we talk about Rivian, Tesla, things of that nature here is the EV sales for Ford. That did come in at 72,600 vehicles in 2023, around an 18% increase on a year-over-year basis, and that was around 26,000 EVs sold in just the fourth quarter alone. So a pretty decent clip, but we do know that the strategy for a lot of these big manufacturers, especially when you're looking at Ford and GM, may be shifting here in 2024 as the cost of trying to ramp up the EV business is a little bit higher than what they may have expected. But overall, we are really seeing the EV and the hybrid space is still just a very small portion of the overall business, around 10% of Ford's total sales alone. So they still have a long way to go when it comes to trying to capture this market. But the F-150 continues, or the F Series continues to be the #1 selling truck series for Ford. It's around 46 years around then that it has been able to keep that title. So I think that's always a nice little figure for them as they continue to command the ICE vehicle space at this point.
Yeah, and so, Kev, along those lines, all we hear about is investment into electric vehicles, and we kind of know the devil we know, if you will, is the ICE vehicles, and that, of course, has been the long-standing business of some of these legacy automakers, but it hasn't been enough to excite investment into these, stock shares. So if the story that they're painting for the EV isn't as strong, which price slashing and adjustments and talks of no demand, which we've seen kind of across the board, limits that sentiment. Is there anything here and enough here to excite investors beyond the 3-cent rally that we see today?
Well, I think, the ICE business is still a very profitable business, to say the least here. And they're also going to see maybe a little bit of a buildup in demand as oil prices and energy prices go down. We usually see this inverse relationship when it comes to EV sales and hybrid sales. As the price of gasoline goes up, that seems to trigger the interest when it comes to consumers to look at hybrids and EVs. If we start seeing oil prices and gold and gasoline prices remain at some pretty low levels, that might entice some of these consumers to continue to stick with ICE vehicles. I think over time, Ford and GM knows that the industry is changing and they're trying to change with it. It's just the cost and scale of trying to make that transition when it makes it a little bit difficult, especially with labor costs going up in the next couple of years here. That's going to also eat into their projection when it comes to trying to expand their ICE or expand their EV fleet.
Yeah, and Kevin, I think it may be perhaps the bright spot of that, because I completely agree, is that we're anticipating this, right? We're anticipating it's going to be a relatively difficult environment for them to grow in. And at least now perhaps we have some of these major headwinds behind us. That's at least a bright spot. And they're hanging on to their 0.3% gain here. But we will leave it there. Appreciate the insight, as always, Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent for the network.